This is Mad Unity, our EDM life.
There's a whole mindset thing that I've been thinking about lately, and there's the attitude of thinking or saying out loud or in your head of, I have to do this, I have to go do this, I have to go to the gym. If you switch the words around and you say, I get to do this, it's really different if you think about it. When you kind of say, I get to do this, I can do this.
Welcome to this episode of Mad Unity, our EDM life. This week, we bring you a full-length conversation with Milwaukee-based house music producer and DJ Blaze Orange. We discuss two of his newly released songs, listen to some of his unreleased work, and we chat about his life as an active member of the scene here in the Midwest. And we get a deeper glimpse into what drives him to continue pushing himself forward as an artist. All this and more coming right up. If you enjoy listening, remember to follow and subscribe and tell your friends about this podcast. Now, let's go. All right, well, welcome to another episode of, or another segment of Mad Unity, what we are calling the Green Room, when we are interviewing local producers in the Midwest. And tonight we have Blaze Orange joining us from Milwaukee. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Blaze Orange, born and raised in Milwaukee. I've always been between Milwaukee and Waukesha County.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I actually know where Waukesha is.
Yeah. I never had much of an urge to leave. Like, I kind of like all the four seasons that we get, and the being between like downtown Milwaukee, Chicago is close by, Madison's close by, and then I can also like go out to the lakes and up north Wisconsin, Minnesota. Like, I like all of the Midwest and everything it offers.
How long have you been DJing and producing?
Oh, I'll age myself. I started 2007, I believe. So,
yeah,
I think we're going on close to 18 years. DJing.
Yeah.
And it took me. I'll say I've been producing steady, very regularly for the last 5 years. Okay.
And so take us back a little bit to when you first started DJing. How did you catch the bug? Like, what was one of the things that got you into it?
Old heads will kind of crap on me, but I started on virtual DJ, just screwing around on a computer.
Yeah.
It was a free software I got, and I just had dance music and was just playing around, having fun. And a buddy of mine had some karaoke equipment, and he saw me playing with the software, and he's like, oh, you're pretty good. I have some equipment, like I could get us gigs and like make you some money. And I'm like, cool.
Nice.
And I was terrible at mixing for just doing that. And then I got a controller, and at that time, controllers were really frowned upon.
Right.
You still had turntablists, and we were using CDs. And that was like the idea that you did it that way, and controllers were really frowned upon for a long time. Yeah. Now it really doesn't matter. Like, if you rock a crowd.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how you do it. Yeah, I remember when I started with vinyl, like in the 90s, and it was there was that weird period between like 2000 and 2005 where there was like Serato, and like, so they were kind of like crossing the bridge.
Yeah, when Serato came out.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, and one of the things we kind of get into is like the artistry is the artistry, right? Like how, what you bring to it, like you said, if you rock the crowd, if you know how to mix, if you know how to put together a set that's like takes people on a journey, which is what I like to do, then that's kind of all that matters.
Yeah, I grew up, like when I got into it, I was playing 4 to 5 hour sets. Yeah. Maybe starting at 9 o'clock, and then, you're pushing past bar close at 2 o'clock and maybe pushing it till 2:30.
Right.
So that's a long time. So I would go all over the board, playing the hits, and then also working in like my favorites and my dance selections.
Yeah. Well, and also just imagine, like, we used to have to carry records for that, for a 2-hour set, and it was
that's a lot.
My least favorite thing. You're getting busted by the cops, and you have to like carry your like cases out. It's just that was not fun.
Yeah, and then it went to CDs, and then now it's flash drives.
Yeah,
but that makes it a lot easier on the DJ.
And what do you like? What's kind of part of your process when you're putting together a set? You're like, depending on when you're going to play or where you're going to play? Does that go into it, or do you have, a preference on how you're constructing what you're trying to put out there?
Sometimes I know the spot has a particular vibe.
Yeah.
That I might cater to the spot of the vibe if they have like regular clientele.
Yeah.
More so now, I have so many tracks written that are my own.
Yeah.
And some stuff that just won't come out.
Yeah.
That a lot of my sets might be close to 50% or more of my own material.
Nice.
So
yeah.
as an artist who's written enough tracks, I feel obligated, and people that come to see me is like, oh, we came to see Blaze Orange. I heard the song on Spotify.
Yeah.
They want to hear those songs that you did. So I will put in my tracks.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll maybe an older one, or a lot of times I'm playing the new stuff. I want to get it featured. I want that to give them a special experience of like, oh, he played like a bunch of stuff. We don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and to me, that's what really makes a good DJ is like, you can just play the hits. You can go on whether it's the Billboard Top 40s or Beatport chart or any top name DJ and just grab his track lists.
Yeah.
But then digging for other gems or having your own of like, oh, this song won't come out until March. And it's 6 months beforehand, so I'm going to play those songs for a while.
Yeah, and I think, getting back to sort of the artistry, right? Like when you are playing a lot of your own music, at least when, it's a great gauge to see how like the crowd responds, right? Like especially now, back in my day, we used to have to cut a dub plate, right? So you would go to the place, cut a dub plate and then play it out, and that whole process was like a week or so. Now you could just transfer it to your record box and your USB, and you play it that night.
Yeah, if you're pretty good at mixing and mastering your own stuff, you can literally take an hour to write out a track,
right?
And then if it's in a playable format, then it's like great news, you get to test drive this tonight and see how it does. And then go back to that track because maybe you feel like in the dance setting with a big crowd, like, oh, the crowd died down around this 45-second mark, and then took a while to get the energy. So we got to go back and work on that track. So that's a great thing about today is you can write a song really quick and test it out.
Yeah. And what you're making mostly bass house?
House.
House, yeah.
I started the project, honestly, like really inspired by bass house. But also, like, I just find myself a lot of times just falling into just in general house stuff. Like I could go deep house, I can go energetic, peak time, tech house, space house, and then also like just groovy stuff that like more and more of my music has like good relations with the bass, percussion, kick drum. Yeah. That there's a good groove going, and that's important to me to not overshadow it with a bunch of just noise or sound design for the sake of sound designing. Right.
No, and so we have actually some of the tracks you sent us in, which thank you, by the way. I enjoyed listening to all of them. And so, I'll just play one, and you want to tell us a little bit about. I just kind of put them in the order in which they came. So
surprise them.
I will pick. So this one is called Jack, and it's the extended remix, the extended master. So this is Blaze Orange, Jack. Is this track released?
Not yet.
Okay.
It actually comes out next Friday.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I wrote this quite a while ago, maybe February.
And it's you're putting them out yourself on your own label?
No, I shop everything to record labels.
Okay.
I find value.
Yeah.
Getting an A&R and somebody in the industry to say yes to a track.
Right.
There's the groove.
There we go.
Yep.
I like that chord, the chorus. I like a lot of the call and response you have going there. With it. What's that? It's like the string, you know, the
yeah.
Yeah.
Some of my songs just have just kind of like, whether it's a rave stab or just a couple like two piano notes.
Yeah.
Or something like an ostinato or just like any kind of little short little beep.
Yeah.
Just it can really do a lot. You don't have to complicate things with a lot of, like, to me, like, when I started writing that song so early, there was a drum loop.
Yeah.
And it didn't even have the kick drum. It was just kind of a couple things in the top loop. And I'm like, I want this on loop for 5 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And there was no bass, no vocal, nothing. So that's why the song doesn't have much of a vocal.
Right.
Because to me, it was the top loops in the percussion, and then the bass groove was just everything to me. So it's really picky about not overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
Just some other little ear candy in it.
Yeah.
And, I stuck by it, even though some people are like, oh, you need more of a pronounced vocal. And I'm like, I really like where it's at.
Yeah. You know, and sometimes, like, you know, it depends on the track, right? Because if the track takes you where you want a lot more progression or a lot more changes or whatever, you do it. But I feel like with house music, you can get into a groove and it's almost like hypnotic, right? Like if you're dancing and you're feeling the vibe, like, why mess with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's listen to this drop here.
Yeah, this will be out next Friday on Tiger Records.
Tiger Records? Okay.
Yep.
So we'll talk a little bit more about, like, the process of getting your stuff signed, you know, if you don't mind. We'll just kind of get into this drop, and then we'll be back in a few seconds. Here we go. I like the groove.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So,
Appreciate that.
yeah, that's Jack, and it will be out by Blaze Orange. It'll be out, you said, on...
Next week, Friday, is that the 13th?
Friday the 13th.
Oh, we got Friday the 13th releases.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that till right now.
There you go.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Friday the 13th. I have 2 songs out.
Yeah. What's the other one that's coming out?
The other one is Do It Again. And they're really polar opposite tracks.
Yeah.
Of that. Do It Again is more almost bass house, like that really fiery energy tech house. And Jack was Tiger Records wanted both songs, so I was really stoked about that.
Is it being released as a sort of like a single release, or are they separate?
Both songs together.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was a little confused, thinking, I'm like, oh, is this like an EP or like?
Yeah.
Is there a different date for the other song? Like, no, both songs come out together. So there's the artwork out now. It says both titles on there from Tiger Records.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of people that are listening, they are producers themselves or DJs. And one of the intimidating things when you start making music, you get to a certain level where you're good enough, but like you don't know if a label will want your stuff. Like how was that process for you?
Trial by learning, and just you have to shoot your shots. And you're gonna have to shoot a lot of shots.
Right.
And at the beginning, I didn't know a ton, but I had somebody with some experience. So there's a couple platforms out there you can use, and a lot of people are just like, oh, well, you can just self-release on Spotify, or more so with like stuff like CD Baby or DistroKid, and those can be cool ways because you're getting a little bit more royalties, but it's your sole responsibility as an artist when you're self-releasing to promote. Labels can do work for you. You can come up with art, provide artwork, and they might have playlists, they might have PR to get your stuff out. So, and even when you're just sending your demo before it's even signed, whoever is answering those emails is getting music nonstop.
Right.
So if it's your job to listen to 200 demos a day, when your song gets selected by that person for the label, that means something very good.
Right.
That they heard something in the music that they really believe in over all those other demos they listened to that day.
Right.
So there's value, and it's also being honest with yourself that you're not just putting out garbage or a mediocre song. That's like when a label says yes to that. I've sent, John Summit talks about how he, I don't know if it was Tool Room or Spinnin', he sent, I don't know, maybe 300 demos or 60.
Right.
It was some big number. And then he finally got them to answer on one of his big tracks that blew him up.
Do you find yourself that as you're producing, sometimes, like, especially after like quite a few, like where you don't hear back, where you try to cater at least the intro of your song or something to try to capture the attention of that one person, like you said, that's listening to all the demos?
There are a lot of things I've learned over the years that help your song stand out. Like if you look at just drops in a song, if you write a house track, bass house, or whatever, you have 3 different drops. I've heard a couple A&R guys that are in the industry that run labels and such, that they can quickly pick if a track is good. Not everybody, but some of these guys do.
Right.
And they'll just quickly do 2 seconds of drop 1, 2 seconds of drop 2, 2 seconds of drop 3.
Right.
If those 3 drops all sound the same, they might just dismiss it and be like, nah.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 drops in the song and none of them were different. You didn't really do, like, is that just copy and pasted? Like, you need to do due diligence on yourself as an artist to make, if you're going to have 3 drops or 4 or more, make them really good. Yeah. Keep that engaging, have your music be memorable. Yeah. Do something catchy.
Yeah, it's sort of like, even, especially in this age of social media, if you're creating content, right, like the advice is like the first 5 seconds that has to like pop. With music, it's maybe it's not the first 5 seconds, but it's like you said, there's those key moments in a song that maybe they're going to, like, especially when I'm picking out songs out of Beatport or in with Bandcamp or whatever, I kind of just hop on the wave, and then like
you can look at a waveform, you're like, okay, I know the breakdowns here, I see the build
here, I hadn't thought of that.
There's a fake drop and another little drop, so you can jump around,
and so maybe even when you're producing music, it might be good to step away and then just go back and just see how they do the wave jump test, basically, right?
Well, I was writing a track the other day, or last night even, and we wrote out the first drop. Yeah. And then I had immediately I was literally in the bathroom and I had this idea come to me. I'm like, I have an idea for the third drop. Like,
bring me my laptop.
Like, and then we wrote that out today because I'm like, okay, because it's going to they're going to think they're going in this direction.
Nice.
And a little fake out and then something.
Yeah, no, and that's the beauty of like when you get into that zone, right? When you're in it sounds like you're being very prolific lately, right? In terms of your production.
Picky about my sound. Yeah. Whether it's your taste is really everything as an artist. Whether you're a chef or a painter or a selector in music. Yeah. It's your taste of music. If you're a chef, it's like, well, you could just use Roundy's carrots and Roundy's ground beef when you're making something. But, somebody with the food truck might have the beef from their uncle's farm. Right. It's the thing that sets you apart is carrots from the local market. And it's like, I like those better. Right.
The ingredients that make up
how they made it, and also the selection of what they put into it.
Yeah, and that's what makes you original too. At the end of the day, right? Like all the sort of the balance of those things and how you learn to use them. Yeah. So we're gonna play the other song that will be released since they're gonna be a twofer. It's this one is "Do It Again" by Blaze Orange. Let's go. I remember this one has it's almost like a progressive, like sort of house vibe.
Yeah, there's kind of a long riser where it's building right off the start. Yeah. Not every song has that. tech house, techno. Sometimes it's just starting with like a bass, a kick and a clap.
Right.
This one, and the difference between a short radio edit and like the DJ extended version.
Right. Oh, and this one is Bot Mix Master. Is that the?
Bot is the guy that did the mastering.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So, Bot's from the Crookers, does great mixing and mastering.
Okay. Nice.
Keep it coming, I don't wanna be a fan. It's the party of the century, it's the night that never ends. Wake up party till the morning and we'll do it all again. Do it all again. Do it all again. Do it all again. It's the party of the century, it's the night that never ends. Do it all again. Do it all again.
Yeah, it's a nice drop.
Thank you. That was a fun one. I put some extra effort into that. I had somebody, I'm trying to think of who it was. Might have been one of my buddies from Tritonal who thought really highly of the track in an early stage.
Yeah.
So I put some extra work into it. Shout out to Dave for helping me with a couple ideas for the track. Gave me really good encouragement and
feedback. Good feedback.
Yeah, feedback is everything, especially honest feedback and constructive feedback.
Right.
It's hard to get good, quick, constructive feedback that is free.
Right.
If you're a new producer, get in any kind of paid community. If it costs you 10, 20, 30 bucks a month, hop in those. There's stuff like Kick and Bass and some other groups. Or if you're in a music school, bounce stuff off of some of the more established anybody that you can get good feedback, because you got to be real and honest about your music. Like,
that's the only way you get better, really. You know, like, you
got to be real and like, if it's not good enough, and the more you get into it, now I've gotten to a spot. I've been really working out at this bass line for like 3 days. It's not up to my standard.
Right.
So I keep working at it and I'm trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be good enough.
Yeah. No, and I think, the show's co-host, Frequency, the podcast co-host Frequency, he's also a producer, and we talk a lot about, he went to Icon Collective.
Yeah,
you know?
I've been there. It's a great spot.
Yeah, and it's, that's a big part of the experience, is just like being vulnerable among other producers and figuring out, like, just being okay with the, maybe we all have a learning curve, I guess, and especially when it comes to developing and crafting your sound. I think a lot of what you've been talking about, like, if it takes 3-4 days for the bass line, that's what the craft is, right? Like, it's like getting
where the reward is when you think back, when you get it, you figure it out, and you're like, holy crap, I just figured it out in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was racking my brain for 3 or 4 days, just so ear fatigued of listening to the same thing for so long. But that's the battle, and that's just going back to work of like, I can't make the 3-point shot, and I've taken 20 shots, and I'm going to take 5 more, and you still didn't make the shot. And it's like, well, what if you sink the next 3 shots?
Right. Yeah. Like, and you gotta, and I think you probably wouldn't get to that point unless you did those.
Yeah, you gotta be determined. Back to,
and consistent, I guess, is the other thing that's difficult. Don't get discouraged.
Yeah. The consistency of keep showing up. And keep working is everything. Like, if you never quit, you're going to accomplish something.
Right.
Circling back to getting your record signed.
Oh, yeah.
2 labels. Lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think
Completely lost where I was going.
Yeah,
with that.
well, I think what you were saying in terms, it's very similar in any creative field, really. Like I also do design, visual design, and at the beginning you don't know what you don't know, and the way the reason you pay for design school is for teachers to tell you, that looks like shit. Go back to the drawing board.
It's surprising how well people listen to feedback when they pay for it.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
like
because it's
therapy or school. Like
it sort of
family members tell you to.
Yeah, it takes the ego out of it,
that, and you're like, I'm saying to do that, but then you go to school and then you pay for this really good workshop with a established artist, and they're like, you should really do that, and you're like. And then you actually do it. And
they might tell you the same thing that, your friend could have told you for free, but it's just easier to listen to if you pay for it.
Yeah, it's surprising how that works.
I think I'm trying to, you sent us quite a few tracks, so I'm very grateful. So I want to listen to House Bumpin' next.
All right.
How about that? Let's go. And tell us a little bit about this one.
Wrote that earlier this year. It's got some fun vocals that switch up, kind of a couple different voices, I think. It's kind of just, I think the bass line was more of a Tom's drum type of bass line for me. That was a little bit different. And when I got it to a point that was really good, it reminded me of a Green Velvet track.
Oh, okay.
And I've always been big fan of Green Velvet.
Oh, there we go. That's very warm and just sort of enveloping.
Yeah. Bass groove.
We'll crank it up.
Some elements of kind of more modern tech house, but still some things that are kind of just classic house to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that sort of hi-hat. You gotta have more clap.
Music's bumping. Music's bumping. Music's bumping. Bass is heavy. Music's bumping and bass is heavy.
One thing I like about your sound is that it tends to be minimal but very dynamic, right?
Yeah,
you add a little bit, enough things to keep your attention. There's
a lot of producers that'll tell you to stop overcomplicating things.
Yeah,
you make it too complicated.
Right.
Your song is too busy. Like one good memorable part of the 4 bars, 8 bars, or the whole song, is really enough. Like, at least to me. I've gotten that a lot. I kind of have a minimal approach at times.
Yeah, I think that because like one of the things I personally struggle with is the transitions, right? Like to keep the attention. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of your sounds, it's not a complicated transition. It's just the sound at the right spot that gets you.
Put a lot of work into Ear Candy.
Yeah.
And keeping something interesting. I mean, you could put some off hits in the drums of like an 8-bar loop.
Right.
But sometimes you need to do a little bit more than that.
Yeah. Do you ever get up and dance while you're working on music just to sort of... Yeah. That's always fun. My dog looks at me like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, the previous track, when I got that top loop going, I was like, oh my God, there's no bass, there's no vocals, there's no synth. It's literally just like a drum loop with hardly any kick and...
Yeah. That's that feeling you get when you're like, all right, this one's going out.
And maybe nobody else feels it about that track, but I did.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Song. And Tiger Records, it took a while to get signed. That was not easy. Like, I had that song shopped all summer. It took until this fall.
Oh wow, yeah. Catch this build.
Bass is heavy.
You know you should expect a lot.
Turn up your subwoofers if you have them.
Yeah.
Like, music's bumping. House. Music's bumping. Music's bumping. House. Like,
That song lives up to its name. House bumping.
It's bumping. Yeah.
It has us bumping here in the studio.
I don't know if it's in both of those breakdowns or just one, but I had kind of like a percussive sound. And then I also used the vocal as like a call and response, so it like tells you about like, hey, it's bumping, and then it's like literally just the bass going boom, dum, dum, dum.
Yeah.
And it was by design. I'm like, it's kind of telling you what it's gonna do, and then it answers back with just the bass.
Right. No, I definitely feel that on the, when you hear the house bumping and you have the bass kind of hitting you over the head or in the eardrums, as it were.
Yeah, I don't think that song has a date, but I believe that one is signed to House of Hustle.
Okay.
So stoked that that's coming out. I had one other track, I believe, actually maybe two out. House of Hustle, they do like the regular record label. They do like Bang for Free on SoundCloud. They're like freebies. So,
okay.
There's one or two of my older songs that came out on their Bang for Free sub label.
And that's a good way to build a following too, you think? Like, when you put your stuff out there that way. Yeah.
I have a lot of bootlegs, and a lot of other DJs will put out stuff that you can't legally sell.
Right.
But there's ways to put them out there and still benefit. And then also like it's getting your name out. Like I put out like a free Charlie XCX remix, and if some big DJ could just grab it for free someday and be like, oh, well, I needed to play a Charlie X remix, and this was a little different. So no, and sometimes now some artists will like just release their stems just to some are not even really EDM, right? And so those are always fun to play with. There was that I forgot the name of it now. It was John Legend's song. It was last year. Everybody sampled it. But anyway, familiar. Yeah, I had one of my first official remixes was, well, I wouldn't say it's official, but Camelfly. If you're familiar with Camelfly.
Okay, no, I'm not.
I think it was his song "Say I Told You So."
Okay,
really cool song, really vibey, and not like my regular house, tech house realm. Camelfly is really unique on his own, and he put out the stems. So he sent me the stems for that track, and I couldn't sign it or sell it,
right?
But I put it out there for free, and that was one of my first.
Where You Are, that's the one. The Kayla, Kyla. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it was like, it's also a good, as a producer, a good way to kind of, or budding producer, to get your hands on well finished stuff, and you can kind of like see how you can kind of live up to that vocal or whatever it is you're sampling.
You'll learn what's a good vocal, because like a lot of us, especially with AI now, you can do you can just grab a song and rip the stems. Yeah, they're not always the best quality. You still have to do some work,
right?
Especially if you get the stems of an old song, you might not have very good vocals to work with.
Right,
you got to make them better or figure out something else.
But,
it's cool to really be able to make your own edits and club remixes. I was working on, I put out a couple clips of the 90s song Bizarre Inc. I'm Gonna Get You.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I remember.
I did that one rather quickly. I think the song was in my head one night, and I told my buddy, and then the next day, I think I finished watching the Packer game, and the song was in my head. I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta go do this right now. And I think I wrote the majority of it in like 3 hours, and then the rest has been trying to get that extra 10-20% out of the song.
Right.
But it's really good practice to keep doing those. And then you also like, if somebody that doesn't know you, and then you have like all your original stuff with no popular vocals, right? It could be that one song. Oh, remember that 90s song? Like,
right, it
that's
brings
what
you in.
Got me into your stuff,
right?
That's important to look at.
Yeah, no, and I think it having the variety. It sounds like like you're not. It's not a rigid process for you. It's sort of like. It's kind of it sounds like there's always something going on in the back of your mind, and then something bubbles up to the top, and you're like, I got to do that.
some of those random spontaneous ideas. I've had some really good ideas that come in the bathroom, and I don't know why.
Yeah, that's
but
funny.
I branded back in the day when I was throwing more regular events of my own. I had a residency, and I was trying to figure out a name for this residency. And in the bathroom, I thought of Millhouse, and I thought of Milwaukee and house music. And I'm like, I just merged it, and then I branded this. It was a Wednesday night, and then we moved to Thursdays, and it was Millhouse. I think we ran that series for at least a year and a half.
That's a cool name. Yeah, it was like a weekly, house weekly.
Yeah, we were every Wednesday and then every Thursday, and we had a number of pretty good headliners come through.
Yeah,
and then a lot of local talent, and it was a cool small spot for a while.
Is there still a lot of weeklies that happen in Milwaukee?
I think so, and sometimes I actually wonder if there's too many.
Okay.
If you have good shows, Chris Lorenzo's tonight in Madison, really stoked to see that. But then if you have 4 other shows of local DJs, I know a lot of us, we want to play music.
Right.
But if there's 7 different free options to go see a bluegrass band, and then there's a big bluegrass band and the ticket's $40.
Right.
People might not go, and like, you as a fan, as an artist, should also want to go see those big DJs.
Right. Just kind of get out and experience and meet the crowd a little bit too.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to take a night off every now and then.
Right.
And like, maybe don't play Friday and Saturday, and maybe just go experience this show in Chicago. Maybe go to this festival.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a big show in town, like,
it's part of participating in the lifestyle, right? Like, like the life of EDM is also...
You have to be present in the scene.
Yeah.
Present in the scene.
Yeah.
And not just expect a big show to come your way.
Right.
You have to, give and take.
Yeah, I think that's one of the themes we've covered in past conversations, and I'm sure in the future as well, is like finding that balance of like, being in the studio working on your craft, but also... And it's almost like, like the onus is on you to kind of like market yourself, and but if you don't see it as marketing yourself, you do it while you're out, in a party and just hanging out. That is actually also networking, but it's like a fun kind of networking, which is part of what the whole thing is about, right? Having fun.
Yeah. The scene wants to see you around. I get very guilty of that because I've, for some of us that are really trying to go hard at this and break out with a hit and get to a festival or get booked outside of the city and make, I want to make the city proud.
Yeah.
I want to get up and out of here to make the city proud.
Yeah.
Because I've been here for so long and I've seen a lot of us, and some people have done some really cool things.
Yeah.
You have to be dedicated, and it's like, there's a time frame of like juggling a full-time job.
Right.
And like being dedicated enough to keep showing up and like put in those hours during the work week, and then say, I'm going to pass on this Friday show because like me personally, I know my creative workflow is the best. Good night's rest. And then 9:00 in the morning on a Saturday with a little bit of coffee and some breakfast.
Yeah.
And then I get into that studio. I can have a 6-hour session. Like, I could have written a song and a half in that time.
Yeah.
So that's very important. But then also like, you do got to get out.
Yeah. Well, that it's funny you mentioned that, because that's, when in other fields, right, when they're saying your most productive time is usually after you get a good night's rest, right? So it might feel counterintuitive to be writing and working on, music that's experienced at night, like at 9 a.m. But I have had this similar experience where like my best stuff is like when I get up early and just like I'm rested, and then, I'm less like, I have just more brain cells, I guess, available at that point.
I've still had some really good late hours that have been very productive of like, maybe I sat on the couch, watched something for a while, and then all of a sudden an idea pops in my head, and I'm like, all right, I'm fired up. I'm going to go in there, and maybe it's only 45 minutes that I go back in there. Right.
And you just put something, like plant a seed, and then that germinates later type of thing. And yeah. Well, I think the whole experience, yes, is for sure, is very rewarding, I can say, and it sounds like for you.
Yeah, it has. I've gotten, more and more good feedback on songs, getting noticed by labels and artists, and being asked to be here to do an interview that's going to be on a podcast. And That's my first podcast. And
Oh,
I was
excellent.
thinking
Yeah,
about
nice.
that like a couple weeks. I'm like, man, that'd be great to get on like a good podcast like in the next year. And then
Yeah. Well,
and now it's happening.
yeah, we follow you on Instagram, and I think that's what, because you've been posting, at least I've been paying more attention on Instagram since we're doing the podcast, right? And I think you mentioned something about how, and it's at Blaze Orange. Is that
Yes.
yeah.
Yep. Blaze Orange, the color. Where that came from, I was just transferring over. I used to go by the name MCZ. It was just my initials. And then, close to 15 years as a DJ. And I was thinking, I was getting bored of like regular bar gigs.
Yeah.
And I started producing, and I thought to myself, like, do I put these under MCZ when they come out on a label, or like, do I rebrand? I'm like, what does MCZ stand for? And it was my initials initially, and so it was me. But
Right.
to some, it was confusing because they thought I was like an MC.
Oh, right. You
host
get up on the,
type.
yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't. So like some people were like expecting me to be MC, and I'm like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, or to them, but I'm like, no, it's my initials. Like, it's real. But like, I had a really good run, and I was just like, that had a really good run, and I was excited. I was just wearing a Blaze Orange Carhartt hat like everybody else, and was
Yeah, I know.
writing music.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, that's a cool color. And I thought about the old kind of trap bass rap hip hop producer Just Blaze, and I'm like, that was always a dope name to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, also the color Blaze Orange is really sweet. Like, and I thought of a lot of branding, and like nobody really utilizes Blaze Orange the way
Right.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and in terms of branding, like the color orange and purple are some of the least used. Apparently, when there's this graphic that like shows you like a lot of blues and a lot of reds.
yeah,
and
I love purple.
Yeah.
But as like a wrestling fan and music fan, like when I think of purple as like an artist or stage, I was always thinking like the Undertaker in wrestling.
Oh, yeah,
where it had the purple lights, and it was epic and spooky. And then Prince
was
purple. And I'm like, that's dope. And it's like, pink's not my thing. I'm like, green, I don't know. And Blaze Orange, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, and you mentioned, everyone in Wisconsin, right? So is that for hunting? That people wear the orange?
Yeah. I actually hunt. I'm not, I don't like go duck hunting for 7 weeks a year. I hunt a little bit. I mostly love fishing.
Yeah. Well, that's one. I'm new to this, newish to the state and to the Midwest, and that's one of the, people here. It's a way of life in the sense that you actually hunt for food, and it's sort of like, and it's also a bonding ritual, I feel like, right?
Yeah,
like it's a great way to, like it's like a healthy sort of, because in California, I guess sort of liberal mindset, mine anyway, and my friends tended to be like, oh, hunting is, just scared of it, I guess is the way to say it.
Fishing gets that way, the classic, dating app of some guy holding a dead slimy fish.
Yeah.
And truth be told, I don't think I kept a fish all year.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You just sort of, it's like catch and release. Yeah.
I let them go. Like, I can go to the bar and get a fish fry.
Right. No, I think, I've grown to appreciate it, and, I haven't gone hunting myself, but I, just hearing the reasons why people do it is like, it's very, it's a cultural bonding thing. I think
I've noticed, since I got sober a number of years ago, I fell back into some hobbies that I had as a kid and growing up. They're always a part of me that I maybe kind of got away from for a while. And then it was very therapeutic for me to go up north, camping, fishing, hiking, stuff like that. And being on the water was very relaxing. So I make a big point to do that during the summer and enjoy. Blaze Orange as call it a brand or a story has really just kind of become me.
Yeah.
And like everything about me in the Midwest of like inspired by Chicago House, the Wisconsin, a little bit of the Wisconsin EDM and rave scene history, as well as just the Midwest culture of like the outdoors and really like enjoying getting out there and exploring and me wanting to play other cities and sightsee. Like a lot of people can relate to that. And it's just kind of.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful state. I've been fortunate enough to gotten to travel north, south, east, west, and there's a lot that goes on here that's very unique to to the state itself, right? And the people are awesome. Everyone's very friendly. That was one thing that when I first moved here in the scene, other places might be a little rougher when you go out to a club, and like here, everybody's been very, very friendly, which you would have kind of expected like EDM, Plur, etc. But I think more so just very chill vibe. Like everybody, like the producers aren't like
not all hearts and rainbows and puppy dogs.
Yeah,
there's always the ugly side,
right?
And yeah, I like from all my years in Milwaukee area, Madison always had a different vibe to me, and I really liked that. And it was always exciting to, whether I'm playing a show or just coming out to catch a good show out here. It's always like, cool. Yeah. Madison, it's a different vibe to me.
Yeah. So I, want to ask you a question that we ask everybody that performs.
Shoot.
And we call it behind the decks. So the craziest thing you've seen, we've witnessed during a gig where while you're playing, it can be good or bad, or just anything that pops to mind.
I'm trying to think of the craziest thing. I know there was a couple like quick little hiccups of just like a DJ miscue of like handing off the decks. I was playing a show, I think it was Porn and Chicken in Chicago in their heyday when they were at Evil Olive every Monday. Those were some great wild parties. Yeah. And my buddy Orville was next. I think he was plugging in his flash drive and I was finishing up, and I think maybe the wrong USB got pulled out and the music stopped. And whatever he didn't know what song he had on. He just hit play. And it was the start of Beautiful People by Marilyn Manson. Oh, wow. And it was just like that. Yeah. Yeah. And I was just like, and we looked at each other and like, I was like, I didn't know what was on. It just went. Just
go with it, right?
Yeah. And I had a hiccup at the Miramar Theater at a recent show. I was just vibing towards the end of my set, selecting my next song, sent it over to the drive, or sent it over to the right side. And I guess I sent it to the
one that's playing.
That was playing, and it didn't prompt me to like, hey, are you sure you want to?
Yeah.
It just sent it, and it just stopped. And I just instinctually, I just yelled, "Oh!" The music had cut out perfectly for like half a second of silence.
Right. For
everybody hears my "Oh!" And then I just hit play, and then we carried on, and I laughed so hard.
That's funny. Yeah, I had that. I've shared this before here. I had that happen the first night we did the radio show live on the air, and I was just like, oh, I hope nobody can, nobody heard it, but I'm sure people did because it was on the radio. But it wasn't too long.
Yeah,
but
you can't freak out. Like the show goes on.
Yeah, and it's not like when we did vinyl mixing, the train tracks were train track when you were train wrecking. That was stressful because everybody could hear, and it goes on for a long time, and sometimes you would freak out, and the more you try to fix it, the worse it would get.
So you go from like
human. And then it would be like and it's
I don't mind hearing that in a mix. Like we're human. Like take chances. Like you don't have when you're playing a 2-hour set and you're playing exactly 125.0 for that long. Like you literally don't change the BPM at all. Like give me an hour and a half, I might start slow, I might start fast.
Yeah, depends on the vibe of the tunes and the crowd also, right? Like sometimes people are into it, you speed it up and they keep going.
I've had a few conversations with DJs and producers lately about I might get on the decks and I might have a different idea of what I want to do, or maybe I'm like, there's too much energy.
Right.
Like it's early in the night.
Yeah.
People need to last for the headliner a little bit later.
Yeah.
And I'll say it, resetting the room.
Right. Oh,
like I might purposely, I'm going to slow us down like 10 beats per minute.
Yeah.
Like it might clear some people out, but I had confidence that the song's going to get groovy.
Right.
It's going to slow, and some people might walk off.
Yeah.
And then they're going to get back and they're just going to have a different slower groove.
Yeah.
And like having that confidence of like, I know exactly what I'm doing.
Right. And I think that comes with maturity. Yeah, it comes with maturity, right? Like you've been out enough and it's your feelings aren't going to get hurt, like you said, if like a few people just peter away for a little while because what you're doing.
You have to take chances. You can't just play it safe and be like, there's a psychology thing I learned from, it's a weird change of subject, but in wrestling, there's psychology of like things are done for a reason. And I will sometimes play a song, especially in the open format.
Right.
I might think of a song of like, this might piss off half the crowd, but the other half might laugh.
Right.
And they might really need a laugh.
Right.
That might really make their night.
Right.
So I will gamble on that track. But before I even start that track, I have what I think is a follow-up hit after that. So if that track that I'm gambling on this track, and it might just get a lot of groans from people.
Yep.
I'm okay because I have the hit song next.
Right. No, and that's actually, it's a great insight. And, literally yesterday I was playing at a house party as well. And I did that where it was like a song that I had just gotten it, and it had a weird funky sample. Like I wasn't sure if it was going to play at this particular crowd.
Yeah.
It was somebody's house. But luckily the track turned out well, but I had the other one, and it's like you're
ready.
You're thinking about the journey, right? Like, and so it's like, when you're in a conversation with somebody, you might want to like say what comes off the top of your head, and then if it doesn't, then you can kind of come back, but because you're building the vibe, and there's a context to everything, I guess is what I like to say. That's awesome. Well, we'll play one more song of the ones you sent us, and then let me see. I'm curious about Throw 96.
Throw 96. Ooh, is this the VIP?
This is Motion's vocal VIP remix.
Okay, I don't think this one hardly saw any day of light. It's not out anywhere.
Okay.
The Throw 96 came out. Who did that come out on? Might have been House Sessions or somebody. Yeah. That might be a House of Hustle free release. That might be out there as a free download on House of Hustle.
So
it's kind of an old school, kind of slow, some progressing in and out. Yeah. Where some elements kind of gradually changing throughout the song. The VIP, I added more of a vocal. Ophia, if you're familiar with Ophia, the producer, hit me back on a platform where I was sending out the free demo. Okay. And he asked for a little bit more of a pronounced vocal version. Okay. So I kind of made this specially for him. Oh, nice. And then it kind of was just my own secret little weapon that maybe only me and Ophia have it, and I never heard him play it.
And now it's on the podcast, so let's check it out.
There you go. Now everybody gets it
to experience it. There you go. So this is Blaze Orange, Throw 96
VIP remix.
VIP. I like the whistle. Kind of, there's a bit of a whistle in there.
Yeah, classic Ray whistle. The dude.
Yeah. It definitely has that vibe of, just 90s house. Yeah.
I have some stuff that's really like more modern tech house or bass house.
Yeah.
Some of my stuff, I don't know, classic house to me. It doesn't have to fit into any of the 17,000 different tech house subgenres.
Right.
Now.
Yeah, no, and that's, it's funny because we were having a conversation about just like the term EDM in general, because, the name of the podcast is Our EDM Life, and because came from a time when there was like, you know, it would get confusing to try to say what you played, right? Like, you know, it was like
EDM just covers it all.
It covers
It's
it
a
all,
broad
and
term.
it's
Rubs some people the wrong way.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about that.
Exactly. Like I think at the end of the day, it's like it's the shorthand, right? Like rather than sitting there and saying a bunch of words that might not mean anything to the person.
Yeah.
You say EDM and they get it.
Can we rewind it like 20 seconds for that vocal drop?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Just a little bit extra on this song that made it a VIP.
Yeah.
With the vocal.
This one right here.
Yep. It's coming.
There we go. Where do you get your vocals mostly?
Kind of all over. Splice is a great tool, especially for beginners.
Yeah.
But some labels are getting really picky about not wanting splice vocals.
Okay.
Because you sign up and it's $10 a month or whatever, and you get all your credits, and you have 1,000 songs come out with the same catchy vocal.
Yeah, I'm a member, so I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you make a really good song with a splice vocal, even though they're like no splice vocals, if you make it the best one, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
It's a good way. Loop Cloud is another platform, kind of like a lot like Splice.
Yeah.
You can get some different vocals because they have stuff that are on both platforms, and some stuff that's exclusive to one or the other.
Okay.
There's some other platforms. I'm trying to more and more find stuff that's unique to me.
Yeah.
There's some people you can use AI to write vocals or remake a popular vocal.
Right.
Trying to get out there and find unique vocals.
Yeah.
Can really, especially one that works with your vibe as an artist.
Yeah.
Also, like, when you set that appointment of the vocalist is coming in Monday at 5 o'clock, they actually show up consistently.
Yeah.
Versus
and sometimes it's, I think it's working with live vocalists is also like, it's kind of a dual-edged sword, right? Because there's also sometimes sometimes it fits, and and then there's other times it takes a little bit more work, and
and sometimes it's just you're on two different terms. You got to get used to, especially as a producer, rejection.
Right.
You're gonna get not booked for shows. You're gonna get the rejection on that. You're gonna get the rejection of your song didn't get added to a place. You're gonna get the rejection of I sent out 40 demos and nobody signed it. Right. 40 different record labels.
Yeah.
Thought it for sure get to one of these 10 and it didn't happen. Like you got to get used to that. And that's, you got to keep showing up. You got to keep shooting. You know, what if the 57th demo, the 57th record label signs your track and that's your first track? And you're like, I'm glad I sent 7 more demos. I'm glad I sent
the extra ones when you didn't want to, just don't give up, people.
Yeah. You really got to stay. If you want it bad enough, you're going to go get it. Yeah. And do the work because the rewards will be there.
I think I saw on your Instagram, just to close out, that I think you're now focusing on music like more of your time, or did I get that right? Or, you're...
For a little while, yeah. I'm actually unemployed. I felt a career change was necessary. I'm
on the same boat right now, by the way. Yeah, just like focusing on the podcast and,
It's if I'm able to do that, and if you're able to do that,
it's a blessing.
There's a whole mindset thing that I've been thinking about lately, and there's the attitude of thinking or saying out loud or in your head of, I have to do this. I have to go do this. I have to go to the gym. If you switch the words around and you say, I get to do this. Yep. It's really different if you think about it. When you kind of say, I get to do this. I can do this. I don't have to go to work. Like,
right. Well, and, you know, the framing then is about gratitude, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're
Yeah.
thankful that you get to do this thing.
we're alive. We're
Right.
here.
And
like,
then, yeah, you
we
get to
have
use your
2
talent.
working legs. I
Yeah.
have to walk to the club 4 blocks, but
Right.
I can because I
Right.
have my legs. I'm functional.
Yeah, and you get to dance for, you know, a little while right now and a little bit.
Yeah.
Just for context, Blaze Orange is on his way to Liquid tonight to rock out.
Yeah. Got some friends there, a couple of people I know on the supporting lineup. So
Yeah, awesome.
Chris Lorenzo's a big one I think Chris Lorenzo's a big get for the whole state.
Yeah. No, I was out. Well, do you know Ethan? The real Ethan.
Yeah, a little bit.
So we were talking about that a little bit about today's show. I just I'm tired. that was what, you know. But no, thank you so much for stopping by. I think it's been a great conversation.
Thank you for having me. It was a terrific conversation.
We're very thankful that you sent us all your tracks, because the goal here is to like showcase and give you a platform. And I think being able to hear your take on your own tunes as we're playing them is I don't know, it's fun. It adds another element that we want to capture.
I appreciate it. It gives people a lot of context into what goes into music and what it means to the person, and it doesn't have to mean that to everybody.
Right.
I might have fell in love with the top loops.
Yeah.
And we get
to rewind.
Likes the vocal. And
yeah. That was our first rewind of the show, by the way. So we'll probably do it a lot more.
Sometimes it's that good. It's like, I want to hear that.
Yeah.
Again.
And if it sounds nice, we're playing it twice.
Yep. Why not?
Excellent. Well, thank you so much again for coming by. And now you know where we are, and we'll be in touch, obviously.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you again to Blaze Orange for giving us so much of his time. And thank you all again for listening. Remember, send us your songs to music.madunity.com and your festival stories to tales.madunity.com. Also, remember, follow and subscribe, and tell your friends about this podcast. Next week, we have another full-length interview with producer and DJ from Virginia Beach, Cronus, who shared some of his incredible new music with us. Until then, be safe out there.
Listen, feel, experience.